Let's take a good look around.
Yeah!
Whoa. I mean, I get it. I just so fucking annoying. Didn't expect you to do that.
Alright ghouls and Garies, take a look at that calendar, it should say October. Halloween's right around the corner, so I figured I'd surf the Nexus and my mod list to put together a showcase of mods that match the season. Take a huff and a snuff of the pumpkin spice and settle in. Let's kick this off with a fun one I stumbled upon that turned out to be a delightful surprise. Goodsprings Halloween is a cozy little mod that decorates Goodsprings with a bunch of items that make sense for the wastelanders living there. Instead of using gourds that could be eaten, the townsfolk use buckets and various other items, like remains that didn't quite make it to the Goodsprings cemetery. There's even some inspiration drawn from Caesar's Legion. This mod hails from the year 2017 and has less than 1,000 downloads, so it hasn't been heavily tested. Personally, I tend to avoid mods older than 2020, and even that's pushing it. There are of course exceptions. I believe this mod causes a bug where shooting bottles in the tutorial mission with sunny smiles gets a bit glitchy. I encountered this issue and I noticed others mentioning it on the Nexus page. Aside from that, I didn't spot any other issues, and I plan on keeping this installed for the fall season. It brings a bit more life to the town with very minimal changes. Many of the houses throughout town are decorated, not just the main drag. Now this may not be for everyone, but it's one of those hidden gems on the Nexus you probably wouldn't find unless you specifically searched for Halloween mods. Alright, now let's dive into something a bit more substantial. This one is a twofer, so hold on to your hat. Simply titled The Haunted Casino, along with a supplementary mod called Galley's Worldspace integration, brings us a new pocket of the New Vegas Strip with a forgotten, abandoned casino. The second mod fully integrates the building, so it appears as part of the Strip's skyline. Before getting into the main mod, I have to say that I really like the integration add-on. Many players feel the Strip is a bit underwhelming in New Vegas, so while this mod's primary focus is on a spooky quest, it gains lasting relevance by adding another point of interest to the map. Before starting the quest, the building sits in the distance, beckoning you forward. Once you finish, you're reminded of your experience there, maybe even feeling tempted to return for one reason or another. The Strip looks a little bit more complete and dense, and the spooky casino helps fill out that skyline. As for the main mod, you won't be accessing this new part of the Strip through the usual main entrance. You'll need to go past Camp McCarran and the El Rey Motel, then take a left at the New Vegas sign through a bus that's been lodged in the Strip's Great Wall. This mod moves quickly, it's well polished, and bugs were minimal. I didn't feel like it was unbalanced or that I was overwhelmed with enemies either. Plus, it wasn't constantly using cheap tricks like blasting my ears or eyes with jump scares or loud noises. It lets the lighting and the atmosphere carry the spook. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that this is some modern Resident Evil or Silent Hill level experience, of course, but it leans into the elements of the game that don't feel intrusive or annoying. It takes you away from the base game for a while, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. Sometimes a mod will take me out of the base game to the point where I feel like I'm just playing a linear, on-rails shooter with endless enemies that leverages none of the good aspects of the base New Vegas experience. This mod isn't like that. It feels integrated into the world as much as possible, at least, with a voice-acted, structured quest that delivers good spooky moments, tension and atmosphere, offering an ideal seasonal experience. I want to note that I recall the mod using things like metal carts and glass bottles on the floor in very dark areas, so you're stumbling around and making a lot of commotion and noise, which is startling, but you're startling yourself, along with footsteps that are attached to invisible NPCs or just playing the audio of footsteps near you, creating a natural sense of tension. This isn't a AAA experience, but AAA games aren't always the best anyway, so maybe that's a compliment. The dialogue does stick out a bit in terms of writing style and voice acting, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not that the writing or the voice acting is objectively bad, it's just that it's not necessarily consistent with the base game. Now, neither is the content of this mod, of course, but I think if you want to ideally integrate a mod into the base game, it should sort of match that tone and style. There are mods that do that or aim to achieve that. Many modders are not going to aim to achieve that, so I'm not placing that standard on them necessarily, but just for my own judging criteria, I place a lot of value in mods that are able to seamlessly integrate into the base game while also bringing new content. That's a very difficult thing to do, of course. Definitely worth a try if you're in the seasonal mood, and again, I highly recommend the Worldspace integration add-on. I think that alone is worth it for me, just filling out the strip visually. I wanted to bring another spooky quest and location mod, but this one I really wasn't a fan of, and I ended up calling it in early. It's called The Happy Place, and it adds a new large building with a small cast of characters, taking us back to Goodsprings. Now first off, this mod plops a massive manor right next to the Goodsprings Saloon, which might be a turnoff for many players right out the gate. So now we have a Camp Golf sized resort building sitting in Goodsprings. On the upside, it definitely looked creepy, so I was still hopeful. Unfortunately, I found it a bit frustrating. You end up doing a lot of walking through enormous interior spaces. There were some spooky moments, and if you have the patience to explore a large New Vegas interior, looking for keys to unlock doors, leading to more keys to unlock more doors, have at it. You could definitely get in the right headspace and enjoy this investigation, but personally I'm not a fan of obscure item searches in New Vegas. No matter how polished we try and make this game, running around interiors looking for items just feels dull to me. There's something nauseating and boring about it, specifically with New Vegas. Wall textures blend together, rooms start looking identical, and I end up wondering what the hell am I doing? It's probably the least engaging gameplay element of New Vegas. Looting is fun when it's a reward for fighting, questing, and clearing a building for essential supplies, but as the central gameplay element, not my cup of tea. I know I've really sold you on it now, so let me know if you think I misjudged a diamond in the rough. No disrespect to the mod author, of course. Hope you find enjoyment where I did not. Unfortunately for him, I'm going to follow this up with a mod that I think deserves all the praise. The mental stability system for New Vegas.
Is this who I think it is?
I think it's Benny.
Let's kill the bastard.
Maybe we can talk to him for— He's dead. He's finally dead.
That's it then. It's over.
Rest in peace, asshole.
Oh man, this mod is something else. It might freak you out more than any of the other mods on this list. This should absolutely be a part of your load order, especially when paired with some of the other quest mods here. The mod introduces a new stat similar to radiation or other hardcore needs. Actions in the game impact your sanity, and if you're lucky, you'll start to go progressively more mad as you explore. Now what's the effect? Stat changes, a new gameplay element to manage, a more hardcore experience, yes. But what truly sets it apart is that it adds voices to your head in an incredibly well thought out and professionally done way.
Behind you, dumbass.
This sounds absolutely insane, no pun intended, but stick with me. There are 3 core voice actors, along with other voices included, all hired specifically for the mod, and I have to say they're top notch. Honestly, they might even sound too high quality for the base game. They are chillingly clear. This is the star mod of this video. It's the one I recommend the most. I plan to keep it on while I play because the voices react to the world, your choices, locations, and NPCs you encounter. For example, I walk into the Tops Casino during testing, and then all of the voices start going crazy saying,
Is this who I think it is?
I think it's Benny.
Let's kill the bastard.
as Benny walks down the steps through the lobby, and then I realize this mod is attached to quest moments, it's attached to NPCs, it's attached to areas, it's attached to your insanity state. All of these different variables give you different audio clips. This is such an awesome mod, and while it's really intrusive, you're not going to be able to play without it being a present reality front and center. You're going to notice it, you're going to hear the voices. Unless you're used to hearing voices, this is going to be strange to you, but it fits so well into the game because it's relevant to the New Vegas systems. New Vegas is about making choice. It's about getting different reactions and different looks from factions and quests and NPCs, and that's exactly what this does. Depending on how you act is how your schizo thoughts are going to appear in your head. Even early on, the voices were saying things like, "Look behind you," genuinely messing with my head and turning me into their puppet. As time went on, I grew used to them, almost wanting to hear their reactions though. I'm excited for this mod's potential to add weight to story moments or just add unique moments throughout the game, and I never thought it would bring that before I started playing with it. I mean, consider the vanilla experience of meeting Benny. It's not that dramatic or intense, it's a bit anticlimactic. This mod changes that moment substantially though, where if your courier is insane enough, they will have a flood of insane thoughts come rushing out, pushing them towards cathartic revenge. It's almost like the Venom storyline with Tom Hardy, freaked out at first but eventually coming to embrace this possession. It also reminded me of the Witcher 3 Hearts of Stone DLC a bit, where Geralt is possessed by the Von Everett brother, a similar tone. This mod has already taken me through a journey from scaring me to making me feel like the scary one. There are so many cool role-playing elements that come along with using this mod. I mean, imagine playing this with a character who kind of balances and goes in and out of a darker half, slipping into insanity and then coming back out of it. When do you feel the urge? When do you change throughout the story? You could have a lot of fun with this. I think this is the quintessential horror mod of this list. Beyond the voices, there are even visual hallucinations. I don't think I've seen any yet, and I don't think I have footage, but I'm excited to keep playing with this mod. It's a massive addition to the base game, heavily tied to quests and vanilla events, adding an entirely new flavor to New Vegas, while also remaining quite minimalist and stable. In fact, even if I do encounter any of the hallucinations before I release the video, I won't include any footage because the mod author has intentionally not included any of that in the Nexus page as to avoid spoiling, so I'll maintain that. We also have the Mental Stability Integrated add-on mod that adds in Madness as another trackable stat, much like other hardcore needs in your Pip-Boy menu. I even noticed MAPMO integrated it into my HUD, right alongside Radiation and other needs down in the bottom left corner. The Dead Money Horror Overhaul is a classic mod that's been around for a while, though it's not available on the Nexus as many of Dragbody's overhauls are not. Dead Money is, to me, the spookiest of the New Vegas DLCs, and maybe even the spookiest Fallout location, right up there with Fallout 3, which is creepy as hell. This mod maintains the ghost people from Dead Money, but it greatly expands upon that base enemy set, adding a whole cast of creeps and weirdos to the Sierra Madre Villa area. These disturbing models, which seem to pull from games like Amnesia, make the Sanity mod all the more fitting. I noticed it expands the DLC without intruding too much. The point of this mod is to not just add content to Dead Money, but also make it harder, which is saying something. It's the real deal for challenging horror mods in this video. I found myself sprinting through all the cramped gas-filled alleyways pursued by all these new enemies, and I'd just be catching glimpses of my companions getting swarmed, unless it was Dog. With Dog on your side, the ghost people are trapped in there with him if you catch my drift. But once Dog's gone, it's back to panic mode. For the ideal visuals and atmosphere, pair this mod with New Vegas Reloaded and Desert Natural Weathers to let Dead Money's tone carry half the experience while the Overhaul delivers the rest. It transforms the toughest DLC into an even more intense and frightening challenge. Also, the hologram guards now look like Squidward after taking a door to the face. Now let's put some pumpkin spice on the creatures of New Vegas. First we have the horrors of the New West, which makes Deathclaws look like they're something out of a claymation movie, both goofy and terrifying at the same time. These models are reminiscent of classic Fallout Deathclaws. Now, if you wanted to have a Deathclaw help protect you from the scares of this season, there's also classic Goris, the talking Deathclaw companion, based on the same character from Fallout 2. He looks like the horror of the New West models, except he hides himself under a comically oversized robe, which he takes off in the most subtle way for combat. To go along with the Deathclaws and sticking in theme, we have Menace of the New West and classic super mutant armor, which gives the super mutant a look reminiscent of Frankenstein's monster and the original Fallout talking heads. There's also classic Centaur Replacer, a wild-fitting look for a messed-up FEV experiment. Sadly, this latter mod really lacks animation, making it look janky as it slides at you with this squishy sound playing. It's a bit laughable, but the other two mods add big, lumpy models that come down to personal preference as well. This one just feels a bit too clunky with its stiffness and lack of animation. Let's switch things up a little bit with a creature mod instead of a replacer mod with Cazaclaws, a fusion of Fallout's two most feared creatures, Cazadors and Deathclaws. Despite being an older mod, the model looks great, especially with the eerie eyes. Given Deathclaws were military experiments, who's to say the big empty scientists didn't do a little hybridizing? This mod essentially introduces a new mini-boss enemy, combining Deathclaw power and size with the agility and venom of Cazadors. Easily the scariest sight in New Vegas. Now, if that one's a little bit too over the top for you, I also have Cazador Queens, which adds a queen to various Cazador nests around the wasteland. It looks similar to the giant ant queen, so it almost feels like it should have been in the base game. Cazador Queens make combat more intense by launching projectiles from a distance while the rest of the nest attacks you up close. It gives a satisfying purpose to clearing out a hive. You must push your way to the middle of the nest, take out the queen, and then stop them from reproducing. hopefully. We can't forget the zombies of Fallout, feral ghouls, and the creeps of the deep Lakelurks. We have Decaying Ferals and Lakelurk high quality replacer. Decaying Ferals delivers a wonderfully grotesque replacement for the vanilla ferals. While Lakelurk high quality replacer makes New Vegas' most mysterious creature look better than ever. The upgrade is impressive and goes well beyond the base game's effort. Now that we have all these new enemies ready to go, we'll need some serious firepower, and some that's also really satisfying to use. We'll achieve that by combining true minigun ESPless and ETJ Miniguns. That'll do the trick. True Minigun ESPless is a really clever and cool mod that uses dummy rounds to give a minigun a more realistic rate of fire without actually having an impact on your performance. Its rounds per minute will be upped from the base game's 12 to 1800 to the mod's 4 to 6000 through the use of these dummy rounds. Essentially, for every shot you fire, 3 dummy rounds follow suit. By using the dummy rounds, the minigun is not only made performance friendly, but it also makes it so the minigun isn't overpowered. You're not actually firing 4 shots at the enemy now, you're firing 1 with the effect of 4 at once. And you can see from the footage that this thing just chews. It's very satisfying to use, especially when we pair it with ETJ Miniguns, which enhances the minigun's look with a high quality model replacer, animations, sounds, and more. I normally avoid miniguns in New Vegas, but together, these mods make them genuinely enjoyable. And now, after all of this, I bring you a tree. A single tree to the town of Nipton. Inspired by the Hanged Man's tree from Velen in The Witcher 3, this subtle addition fits the town, especially considering the Legion's actions here. It's a small touch that adds a spooky sight on a New Vegas night. Now let's get back to Goodsprings where the festivities continue. Sit back with Easy Pete and the gang and enjoy a hot cup of something on this cool October night. I hope you enjoyed the mods today. If you think I missed any good ones, feel free to recommend them below. Just no links for safety reasons. Check out the mods listed in the description. Thank you for watching. Thank modders for modding. And of course, thank Todd for todding. Also, stay safe this Halloween weekend.